global warming earlier. I want to talk a little more about that if we can. I think you probably know over the last 6 years, our energy policies have really resulted in billions of dollars spent on coal, on nuclear industries, and on renewable industries. And in that time, we've actually ended up being more dependent on foreign oil and emitting more greenhouse gases. I wonder if there's some specific changes you make to the energy policies to really work on those problems.
Thank you. I would obviously do renewables. We all support wind, solar, tide, all those things. I'm not yet a living American who is in opposition to those, except maybe somebody who lives in Cape Cod. Which is remarkable in itself. Anyway, but I mentioned nuclear earlier, and I won't rehearse that or repeat that with you. I think that's vital. I also think that clean coal technology, although I think you would agree is not at the state of technology that we want it to be, is probably something that we should pursue from a research and development standpoint. I believe the cap and trade, what Joe Lieberman and I have proposed, Joe Lieberman, my favorite Democrat, this cap and trade proposal is a viable and strong way of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. What it is, my friends, if somebody owns a greenhouse gas emitting business or enterprise and they reduce those greenhouse gases, they earn a credit for doing so. It's an investment they make. It's probably going to have something they'll do. They earn a credit for it. Somebody else starts a business or an enterprise, and that is going to emit greenhouse gases, then they can go to that person and buy that credit. Meanwhile, there is a reduction of greenhouse gas emissions which is mandated. That's a free enterprise, a market-oriented system. Now, I congratulate the former Vice President of the United States, Al Gore, for being awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, in all due respect, I would have awarded it to those monks that are dying right now, those Buddhist monks that are dying in prison and being beaten in defense, trying to have freedom for Burma. But that's not the point. I would also urge Al Gore, who I have had a very good relationship for many years, to come on board on nuclear power, even though some of the radical environmental organizations won't support it, and also adopt cap and trade rather than a carbon tax. My friends, a carbon tax, in the view of some, means an increase in the price of a gallon of gasoline. A tax. Now, who is it that would pay the most disproportionately if we imposed another gas tax on it? The poorest people in America. It would be a very regressive tax, in my view, when we can do it, I think, with cap and trade. And finally, the other thing I want to point out, and this is the same thing with healthcare. We've got to make Americans aware of two things: the danger to our planet as associated with climate change, and we can continue the debate, but the preponderance of scientific opinion now in the world is that it's a danger that we have to combat. And the second thing we need to do is to educate Americans at how fragile this dependence on imported oil is. My friends, it's very fragile. When you look at how unstable some parts of the world are, where we get that oil. So I think that we just, as leaders, have to do a much better job. And finally, as I'm sure you're aware, if you ask the American people to sacrifice or act in behalf of a worthy cause, they will always respond in the affirmative.